Oh, it's hard for classroom teachers to change gears and homeschool their kids. Again, not 100% of the time, but I personally had issues with this because I had a classroom mentality before I stepped into homeschooling our kids. I loved my whiteboard. I still do. I love reading aloud and asking questions and expecting kids to be sitting there nicely. And I mean, I loved the classroom setting. As far back as I can remember, I wanted to be a classroom teacher. So imagine the in your face surprise when classroom mentality just bombs as a homeschooler. It really causes some classroom teachers to struggle because they know that they can educate their kids. They know that they can do a great job, but they can't quite figure out how to embrace homeschool life versus classroom life. And that's what we're going to talk briefly about today. So let me go ahead and share my screen. See if I can actually find the proper browser. So I want, we'll just go ahead and share desktop, and then I will pull up the proper page. So it's hard to homeschool when you have that classroom mentality, because we have these dreamy visions of what it's supposed to look like. And we've been taught that curriculum is the leader. Curriculum is what dictates our lesson plans, where we have a class time mindset, like it's time for math, it's time for English, it's time for history. We are always looking at things like scope and sequence. You learn this first, you learn this next. These are the things that you need to learn. And we have an assessment mindset. So here you have this dry curriculum that has been governing our classroom. In a classroom, we have creative liberties to decorate the walls and figure out, how we're going to bring a particular lesson to life, but we still are dictated by this is the time that we teach, these are the things we need to cover, and we need to move on, and we need to prove that the kids are learning what they need to know, right? Classroom teachers, I fully respect classroom teachers. Personally, we've done every kind of teaching possible for our kids. I have taught in a classroom. I have completely unschooled kids and everything in between. So the problem is that I'm finding as I'm talking to homeschool classroom style teachers is they have these types of questions like, well, how can you teach without all that stuff? How can you teach without curriculum? How can you teach without a formal lesson plan? How can you teach without a formal scope and sequence? And how can you prove that they're learning if you're not doing quizzes and assessments? And the big question, what if I miss stuff? And the current picture that I have going on is in my kitchen, we have a granite countertop. And this granite countertop to me represents all of the bits and pieces of information that curriculum and the school systems and the world thinks that your kids need to know. It's a spattered mess. And the reality is that some of us feel, especially if we're classroom teachers, that we need to check off all those boxes, that we need to hit them all. And if we don't hit them all, the kids are going to be completely scarred and messed up for life. Nope, it's not true. So how can you approach learning if you're not checking off the boxes, if you're not following curriculum? That you need to step back and look at the forest from the trees, right? Get out of the forest and just see the trees from a distance. You're not trying to check all the boxes. Instead, you're trying to give your kids a solid foundation and to ignite a love of learning that they will carry forward into their future lives. Jump forward 10 years into from your kids' lives if they're in that middle flourishing and fun stage, and they're now in the next season of life. They're in college, they're holding a job, they're serving in the military, they're doing something. That future child needs to be an excited learner. They need to be a team player. They need to be a leader. They need to be disciplined and responsible and all those things. They need to see a project that they don't understand. And then they need to ask questions like, well, how can I get the help that I need to get over this? They might choose their smartphone because they're holding supercomputers in their hands. They might go online and do some research, take a class, connect with a mentor, or get tutored by somebody. That student doesn't need these boxes checked off. They just need those skills. So as a homeschooler and as a teacher, your goal is to teach that future child how to have learning skills, coping skills, and character qualities that are going to help them thrive in life. But you don't need to toss your curriculum out. I know that I talk a lot about breaking the chains of curriculum, and it's true. Curriculum is designed to be one of the tools that you use to educate your kids. And not all curriculum is bad. And some kids, some teachers, some homeschool environments thrive using standard curriculum, turn and do the next page. And if that's what works for your family, then embrace that freedom because it works for your family. But you don't necessarily need to toss out curriculum. I'm going to encourage you to look at curriculum as if it's just one of the ways that you can teach your kids. So go to the table of contents and look at the table of contents. Look at the lessons and say things like, okay, the first one here is adding whole numbers and money, subtracting whole numbers and money. I chose math specifically because it's black and white, easy, but all textbooks have a table of contents and then the ability to glance at them to ask yourself these questions. You read the table of contents and you say, do I know how to do this? Do I know how to add whole numbers? If not, you peek at the lesson and you go, oh yeah, I know how to do that. And then you sit back and you say, okay, what is the goal? How old is the child? What is their ability? Am I just introducing this concept? Are they practicing this concept? Or am I just making sure that they've mastered it? So you're searching for the purpose of the lesson at this age and stage. You peek at the lesson inside to see what the book says are the teaching objectives. Because typically in any chapter, in any book, there's only a handful of things that whole chapter is meant to bring to your child. That's the goal. So once you know what it is and whether or not you know how to do it, and once you know what the goal is, you close the book and you look for ways that you can bring this topic to life. First of all, does it mess with my kids? Is it going to hang them up? Are they going to be frustrated, confused, overwhelmed, or just bored with this material? Because sometimes skipping things is the best thing that you can do for your kids. It's the best thing that you can do for your homeschool and for your own sanity. But then you look at that material and you just step back. Can I find a movie connection? Are there documentaries out there? Do I have any books on my shelf that will add to this topic? Can I go to the library or Amazon and order books that will enrich this topic? And in my field where I am on this planet, is there a museum? Is there a historical marker? Is there somebody that we can go talk to that will bring light to these things? So, so, so important. And then you still haven't taught the topic yet. At this point, as a teacher, you go and you choose a hands-on project that you could do with your kids. Now, inside Homeschooling Olympians, I have over 40 hands-on project ideas that you spread them out on the table, and you as the teacher say, I think these 10 projects would work well with this teaching objective, with this topic. So now you take those 10 things out, and now you bring in the kids and you say, hey kids, we're going to be learning about this topic. What project do you want to complete? And that will be how we show that you learned this thing. And then they pick a project, and then you take it from there. You map out the lesson. You are still following the curriculum, sort of, but you're not reading and answering questions. You are completing a project. And I know you're freaking out a little bit and you're thinking, Bekki, do not leave me hanging. I do not know how to do this. This freaks me out. And that's exactly why I'm encouraging you to jump on the waiting list for Homeschooling Olympians, because this process of letting go of curriculum and lesson plans and scope and sequence and assessments and all that stuff, that drama, it crushes you. Just as you listen, you're like getting heavier and heavier. That's not our goal. Our goal is to breathe in and to feel the delight and the excitement of teaching our kids, and to watch the spark go in their eye, and then to have something that they do as they're learning that they're so proud of that they can't help but share it with everybody. And that's what's inside Homeschooling Olympians. We help you get there. And then I'm going to encourage you to join me tomorrow. I'm going to be back out here live tomorrow, and we're going to start to talk about what you get inside of Homeschooling Olympians, because a lot of people, my email's starting to fill up with questions. Okay, exactly what is this, Bekki? And so I'm going to start sharing about that. If you have any questions, you can reach me at abetterwaytohomeschool@gmail.com, and I will see you tomorrow.